So welcome everybody to our May edition of Live with ByDesign, and today we are going to talk everything e-commerce. I am joined by our preferred partner from Shapetech Solutions, Connor Hester. Welcome, Connor. Thanks for being with us. I'm going to start off things by talking about the various options that you have for e-commerce with ByDesign. So whether it be using our out-of-the-box cart, using APIs, using a third-party cart, there's lots of different options here. So I'm going to go through some of those options first, then I'll turn it over to Connor to talk through specifically Shopify and how it can connect into the ByDesign platform. If you guys have any questions, we do have the chat that you can type your questions in there at any time. Also, feel free to interrupt, speak up, ask the question, get a real-time answer. I believe we will also have a little bit of time at the end for some Q&A. So with that, I will go ahead and dive in. All right, so when it comes to the e-commerce approaches with ByDesign, the first and obvious one is to leverage the ByDesign cart or the Freedom e-commerce. It's fully integrated, it's very configurable, lots and lots of settings that you can choose to turn on, turn off, and customize for your specific business needs. There's also a promotion engine that goes along with that cart. So lots of different ways to configure and cater that to meet your specific needs. The second option is one that Connor's going to be diving into, and that is Shopify. Now, there's even a few different options for using Shopify. You can use it for all of your needs. You can use it for just your customer and keep your enrollment or your recurring payments with ByDesign. There's lots of hybrid approaches there. But the key is if you're wanting to use Shopify as your e-commerce, you do need to have a connector that will connect the ByDesign platform to Shopify. And that's where Shapetech Solutions comes in as our preferred partner. And then finally, you also have the option to do any other custom cart or API-based integration. So this would be similar to the Shopify integration, but you can use other third parties, WooCommerce, BigCommerce. You can use your own WordPress site that you customize for your shopping experience. But the key is to use the APIs to make sure that all of those orders and customer data gets back into the Freedom platform, because you're going to want that for receipt tracking, for reporting, for commission purposes, and so on. So those are kind of the three options that you have when it comes to e-commerce with ByDesign. So let's start with the ByDesign cart. So the out-of-box cart that comes along with your ByDesign integration. So you can see on the left, I've got that diagram of the flow, okay? And it starts with your WordPress site, which includes the replication for all of your different reps. So here's a screenshot of what that WordPress may look like. You can see that it's tying Sarah Grant as the rep that I'm shopping with. This is a very simplistic WordPress site. You can get as crazy or as simple as you want. You can build your own WordPress site. You can leverage a third party to build that site. But either way, it's important to have that replication so that it's tied to all of the specific reps. From the WordPress sites, customers who start there are then going to go into the cart where they have browsing and enrollment. So they can add things to their cart, they can enroll, they can add auto ship items for recurring payments. All of that's done on the ByDesign cart, which is what you see on the screen now. And then it lands at the checkout screen. So after they've put the correct items into their cart, they go to the checkout screen where they're going to indicate shipping, payment method, use credits if they've got any, and then finally complete the order. Now, when you look at the Shopify example, as opposed to the ByDesign cart, basically everything is done on the Shopify side. Okay, so the browsing, the enrollment, the order completion, the payments, all of that's going to be done externally in that Shopify experience. And then at the very end, after the order is completed, that's when it's going to be sent to the ByDesign or the Freedom interface for commissions, genealogy, reporting, etc. So you can see here the browsing, all of this is still on the Shopify side. And then finally, it gets sent over to ByDesign. This is going to be very similar for any of the custom or API-based options as well. So here's a great example of Paparazzi. They have built out their own custom cart, and then they are completing the browsing and the checkout experience all in their side, and then sending the data back over to ByDesign for that creation of customer and storing of the order data. So here's a summary of those. You can see here, basically everything at the end of the day is going to end up back in the ByDesign system, because we have to keep track of customers, reps, commission data, order data. All of that's going to be stored at Freedom. So it's just going to change that first part of the flow depending on which of those e-commerce options you choose to go with. What we're also seeing emerge is what we call hybrid e-commerce options. So it may not be one of those three options. It may be a combination of them. So for example, with the Shopify option, you can absolutely have your checkout in the Shopify experience. You could also choose to land at our checkout instead of leveraging the Shopify checkout. Or what we're seeing most often is customer checkout for one-time purchases still live within Shopify, but enrollment to become a rep or recurring purchases can drop into our checkout 2.0. We've really spent a lot of time and effort making that checkout 2.0 as much of a centralized location as possible. Because with all of these different e-commerce options, the more that you can kind of centralize the tax, the promotions, the shipping, all of that can be done within checkout 2.0. So regardless of which e-commerce option you choose, you always have that choice of, do I want to complete the checkout in that third party or on that custom page, or do I want to land in checkout 2.0 on the ByDesign side to complete that final step? There's a lot of APIs that are going to help facilitate this. If you're doing checkout outside of our system, either in Shopify or on your custom cart, you can leverage APIs to pull credits available, pull different promotion criteria, and then of course, after the completion of the order, that's when you're going to use the APIs to actually send that data to us. So just know that, everything I go through here is certainly a foundation of what's possible, but we can get creative and anything is possible. We're finding more and more that everybody has a little bit of a unique flow. So we're seeing more and more of these hybrid e-commerce options emerge. So I'm going to dive a bit more into the ByDesign cart options now that you kind of know what the three options are and how you can leverage them. I want to make sure that you're aware of some of those out-of-the-box solutions and features that you have in the ByDesign cart. So the ByDesign cart consists of a few different components. There's the category landing page. If you have it enabled, you don't have to have a category landing page. You can certainly have your default landing page be your all products or your product list page. That's fine. But you do have the option of having a category landing page. This is just going to allow you to add some verbiage about your products, and you can literally stack all your different categories on this page. So before they just start scrolling through products, they can see what the different categories of your products are. After the category landing page is the product list page. This is literally where you're just going to have all of your products listed out. You can see on the left-hand side there are some criteria if they want to filter or narrow it down. You have control on the configuration here. So you have a lot of different options that you can turn on, turn off. You determine which categories are visible and which products are in each one of those categories. As a customer, once I find the item that I like, I'm going to go into the product detail, learn a bit more about it. If there are different options such as colors, sizes, flavors, scents, depending on what your product is, you might have some different options there. This is also where you can add videos about your product. You can add links to any of your third-party testing or just paste the third-party testing in to the actual blocks there underneath the image. You've got a lot of options here for obviously configuring each item to display the relevant information. How many images do you want? How many options do you want? Is it auto ship available, or is it just a one-time purchase? You can choose to display volume or not. Lots and lots of configurations, but in general, this is going to be the overall format that you see for that product detail. Once the customer has filled up their cart, they're going to land at the bag summary where they can check out. Now, the bag summary includes some really neat features that I want to point out. The first is what we call cart browsing promotions. So you have the ability to configure these promotions so that as a customer is adding things to their cart, taking things out, they can get notified of things that they are close to achieving. For example, all orders that qualify for free shipping. I'm currently $39 away from that. Maybe I've added an item that is part of a BOGO. So you want to, anytime I add the protein bar to my cart, maybe a cart browsing promo will say, add a second protein bar for half price. So there are different ways that you can notify the customer of promotions that they are eligible or close to using that cart promo action. And then you've got obviously the ability here to add additional items to the cart. And then there is the ability to link with party or a hosted event. Obviously, if you're not party plan and you don't use hosted events, this is not going to apply to you and you can turn it off. If you are a party client, there's various options here. You can force them to select a party or to indicate they're not shopping with a party. You can not force it, but offer it as an option. So if they want to tag a party, they can. You can provide search options so that they can search any open party or only those that they've been invited to. So again, a lot of different options for configuration there on that bag summary page. But after the bag summary, obviously they land at the checkout and they're done. Now, it's important to understand the replicated site or that WordPress site that I talked about at the very beginning and how it correlates to the shopping cart. And it's important to know this because you actually have a lot of flexibility here as well. So on your WordPress site or your primary marketing site, the adapture.com, if you will, when you're on that site, that replicated site, you can control where you direct them to in the cart. So for example, the Shop Now button on your WordPress site can take them either to your home page, which is that category landing page, or you can land them at the full product list page. You can go from any category on your WordPress site to the landing page or to a specific category, a full product list. You can take them directly to a single product. So if you want to promote a new product on your WordPress site, or maybe your top selling product, you can link from there directly to the product detail instead of landing at the landing page or the product list page. You can also lead them directly to the bag summary. The greatest use case that I've seen here is on your WordPress site, if you are featuring specific products or a bundle of any kind, you can actually land them on the bag summary with the items already in their cart. And the way you do that is simply controlling the URL that you're passing from your WordPress to our shopping cart. So you can add items in that URL. You can dictate language preference in that URL. You can pass referring customers. You can pass all sorts of different information in the URL itself. So there is a KB or knowledge base link here that will help you to explore what's possible when it comes to that URL and passing them into our shopping cart. One of the things that I always like to point out is the various ways to share links to the cart. So we talked about going from WordPress to the cart, but even from the cart itself, customers and reps can refer other people. So there is an option for adding a referral link to the header of your shopping cart. There's a couple of settings there that you'll want to turn on, but this allows customers and reps alike, when they're on your shopping cart, right there on the header of every page, there's the link to share the cart. So it makes it very easy to find, very easy to use. And if you do have a loyalty or referral program, you can even award credits when people refer others using this share method. Another thing I always like to suggest is providing an easy way for your reps to also share their shopping cart. There is a free text widget available in the dashboard configuration, and when you use the rep URL tag within that free text widget, it's going to allow you to basically display to each individual rep what their personal URL is. So that way on the home page of Revolution, as soon as they get to their back office, they know exactly what the URL is that they should be sharing for their shopping cart. Obviously, the rep can share it from the cart itself, but we find that also having it in Revolution is really great for those that tend to spend more time in their back office than on their own cart. We also have a fairly new functionality involving the wish list. So the wish list is a cart feature that we've had for quite some time. It allows a customer to basically save items as their favorite items and create a wish list. Customers can create wish lists, hostesses can create wish lists, and reps can also create wish lists. And it's very empowering when you're a rep, because as a rep, I can create multiple wish lists. For example, maybe I will have my favorite products. Maybe I will have my weight loss products, my muscle building products, my skin care products. I could have all these different wish lists set up, and then depending on who the customer is or what they might be interested in, I can share a particular wish list with any number of customers. I can send that to them individually, but you can see I can also post it on social media. So as a rep, I can put onto my Facebook page, here are my favorite items, and anybody that clicks on that link is going to automatically land on my cart with those items already in their bag. So they're going to land on that bag summary. It'll already have the items there. And then I can either add more items, continue shopping, or check out. So this is a really great way for your reps to promote and market specific products, making it easier for the customers to purchase them, because now the customer doesn't have to remember the items, go and put them in the bag. The wish list is already going to do that for them. Another similar functionality that we have available is something we call order draft. And the order draft is very similar to the wish list in that I'm able to add specific items to an order and email it to a customer. The difference here is that it is a one-to-one. I'm sending this to one specific customer as opposed to having a wish list that I can share with multiple people. The key here is when I do share it to this customer and they click on that email to redeem, it's going to automatically log them in. So it's really a one click to purchase. So this is a great way, again, for your reps to kind of empower your reps to take control of their sales, send out these curated orders to their customers, and then they have a report of any of these order drafts that have not yet been redeemed. They can go in at any time, see that, Connor never clicked to purchase that. I can follow up with him, especially at month end. Any of my order drafts that are out there, I'm going to follow up with those customers to try to maximize the comp plan and get that boost of volume before the end of the bonus period. A few other options that you have available on the ByDesign cart, we do offer various branding options. There's a default branding, which is the top picture that you see here. It will contain your logo and your color schemes. But other than that, it's pretty consistent client to client as far as the format. We do offer something called the Customer Experience Package, or CEP. What this is going to do, it's not going to change the look of the page, but it will mask the URL. So you can see here the standard URLs are going to be shop.bydesign.com/adapture. Okay. The custom URL could be shop.adapture.com. This is going to be really important for brand recognition and brand awareness, but also in all of the ways that your rep can share products from their cart, either sharing a specific product, sharing from the referral link, sharing the wish list, sharing on Facebook. Anytime you're sharing these, almost all of the third party like Facebook, Twitter, email, they're going to shorten that URL. And if you're using our standard URLs, ByDesign is often the name that they're going to see in that shortened URL. Versus if you've got the CEP, the client name, Adapture, Love Biome, Avere, those are going to be the names that they see in that shortened version. So if you're not leveraging the CEP, it is a minimal cost, but it can really boost your brand recognition and reduce the bounce rate for people whenever they're going to your site to make a purchase. The other option is what we call premium cart branding. This is very useful if you have really built out your WordPress site and you've got great navigation, maybe you've got like a philanthropic or fundraising link in your WordPress site, plus an about us or details about your products. These may be elements that you want to carry over into the cart, and premium cart branding is how you can do that. The premium cart branding is essentially going to take your header and your footer from your WordPress site and put them into your ByDesign cart. So you can see here the two images. The top one has the standard branding that has that, the bar at the top with your logo there. Below that, you can see Super Patch has leveraged that premium cart branding. So they still have the bar and the logo, but now they also have their own custom navigation. The shop, performance, wellness, about, all that is a part of that custom header, and it aligns one-to-one with the WordPress site. So that means customers that are going from superpatch.com coming into shop, they're going to see the same header from both sites. So it's less obvious that they've actually come to a new page versus just remaining within that same experience. Another really neat feature that you have is that you can actually have multiple carts if you choose. The original use cases that we saw here were, for example, with Super Patch, they wanted to launch Super Patch as a kind of test market or initial validation. So they had both their Vox site and their Super Patch site going at the same time. Since then, they've adopted the Super Patch as the primary cart. We also have a client, Ariel, who, because they sell both CBD and Delta products, they were not allowed to put both of them on the same cart, or they could not allow customers to purchase both of them together. And so for that reason, we created two separate carts, one that would house the CBD products and one that would house the Delta products. This allowed them to be in compliance with their highly regulated product because they had the two carts. But what's great is that the two carts are still managed from a single inventory interface, single promotion interface, single checkout interface. So it's really the browsing experiences where you've created the two experiences, and then it comes back together for the checkout. And of course, it's all feeding the same commission plan, the same genealogy, and so on. Category landing pages, I already talked about those a little bit, but just know that when you're setting up your inventory, you can set up a category for them or not. The My Account, this is going to be where your customers go to manage their account. You can choose to display credits, gift certificates, referred customers. There's a lot of different options here when it comes to catering this My Account page to fit your specific business. And then finally, there are some additional features that I just don't have the time to go through today, like guest checkout, promotion codes. I talked about the cart browsing promotions a little bit. You can choose to leverage recommended or related products for those upsell opportunities, product reviews that you can approve before they get posted, and then product tags. So for example, in the image there, the new on the watch, that's a product tag. You can use it for new, for any kind of promotional discount, any of those, like leaving soon, those kinds of things. Those are all able to be configured out of the box using the ByDesign cart. Obviously, there's a lot more about the ByDesign cart that we could talk about, but I don't want to take the whole time. So if you have additional questions, reach out to me, reach out to support. We'd be happy to answer any of those for you. Now, if you recall back at the beginning, I said there was the ByDesign cart, the Shopify option, and the API based. I'm going to skip to the API based really quick before I turn it over to Connor. When it comes to API based carts, there's a couple of things that you can choose to do. One of them is to leverage our online order concept. So this would basically leverage the shipping, tax, promotions, and other built-in features that we have. And it is the most common way that clients integrate. It does require more touch points or more of the API back and forth, if you will. So these are going to be things where you're calling out to us to get pricing, taxes, promotions, those sorts of things. And it's kind of a back and forth throughout the shopping experience. Versus a simple order creation is like you're going to do the whole thing on your external site, and then you're just going to send us the completed order. Okay, you're going to send us the order, the approval, the rep that it's tied to, the customer information, etc. So obviously, on this spectrum, there are hybrids of both options, right? But the key is to know that at any point you can choose to stop using that external site and finish the entire thing on the ByDesign side. You can also complete it all prior to coming to ByDesign. So lots of options there for API, and I know a lot of different scenarios are currently being leveraged. Finally, with Shopify, what you need to know about Shopify is, like I said earlier, you do have to have an integrator or a connector. We recommend Shapetech Solutions. They are our preferred partner. They have already built out this integration or connection for multiple clients. So I think we're up to 6 to 8 clients currently are using Shopify through Shapetech. So this diagram just kind of shows you how the ByDesign platform connects to Shapetech, which then connects to the Shopify. Okay, so you're going to move a lot of the ownership or control over into the Shapetech solution, and then some of them are going to be moved over to Shopify completely. But with that, I do want to go ahead and turn it over to Connor. He can talk a little bit more about how Shapetech acts as this connector, what your options are, and I'm sure you guys will have some questions for him. So with that, I will stop sharing and I will let Connor take over.
Awesome. Thank you, Cassie. All right. I'm gonna share my screen. Cool. All right. I think I know a decent number of you, but I think it's always good to quickly. There we go. Quick update, the quick 20 seconds about us. Yeah, as guys said, we are a preferred partner of ByDesign. So I run a company called Shapetech Solutions. We're essentially a SI development agency that specializes in direct selling, affiliate marketing, multi-level marketing. So we've worked with companies from startups all the way to north of $2 billion a year inside the direct selling space, helping them kind of rethink their different digital experiences. With that, that means a lot of things. We've worked in a variety of channels, whether that's on helping to improve the back office experiences or integrate new ERP systems or on the marketing automation side. However, really the bread and butter that we've really helped a lot of direct selling companies and a lot of ByDesign clients in has been Shopify and helping you, direct selling companies like you all overhaul the replicated site and e-commerce experience. So how have we done that? As Cass said, we set out a couple years ago with ByDesign to basically build a default middleware integration that connects basically ByDesign and Shopify together to basically allow any ByDesign client to go and say, hey, I want to use Shopify for my entire purchasing experience, whether that's corporate e-commerce or my replicated sites for customer purchasing or my rep enrollment, my rep purchasing, so on. I want to basically be able to use Shopify for those components of e-commerce. So what we did is we basically built a middleware integration first and foremost that connects ByDesign to Shopify. We also then built a series of front-end assets to basically enable Shopify to serve different direct selling companies. So the real goal of this was to then say, give any ByDesign client the ability to say, I'm going to keep ByDesign for truly best in class commissions, back office reporting, genealogy management, and then use kind of the go-to market solution for e-commerce, which is Shopify. So how do we do that? And I'll give you a quick overview of how this actually works from a data perspective, and then I can give you a quick demo to kind of bring everybody up to speed. Um, how this works. What we do is we basically connect Shopify and ByDesign together in a few different flows. I always start this by saying is we want to make this process as easy as possible for every client, and also keep the order processing itself on Shopify. So what that means, first and foremost, is we want to use Shopify for product management, which I'll touch on second why that is. But what that means then, you as a company are setting up your products, setting up the multimedia, and also setting up your volumes, your rep pricing, so on Shopify. What we're doing is automatically syncing that into ByDesign, so ByDesign can use those products for everything from reporting to different commission plan parameters and configuration and so on. What happens then is we're syncing a variety of data that is occurring in Shopify. So when a customer account is created or edited in Shopify, for example, we're actually syncing that customer account into the right place in ByDesign. Same with like, for example, when an order, so all orders are actually created and processed on Shopify. Once that order is created, we're then automatically creating that order inside of ByDesign with its appropriate line item information, its appropriate volumes, so on. The same then is with like, for example, we also have rep enrollment on Shopify. So the rep enrollment is doing the exact same thing of when a rep enrolls, they're actually created as a customer on Shopify, and then we create them as a rep in ByDesign. From ByDesign itself, we're then actually pulling the replicated site information, the genealogy, and also things like product credits and other additional parameters that you might use for promotions. So on the front end, what does this actually, or what does this actually look like? I'm going to pull up a client of ours. So Crunchy is a client of ours on ByDesign and Shopify. What you're seeing in front of you is Crunchy's Shopify site. So this is all using Shopify's normal theme system and visual editor. So how Shopify works from a shop perspective is you basically go on and select a theme. So you can either, there's a marketplace of dozens, I think it's over 100 plus themes at this point, that you can select and use those themes to actually build your shop. Or you can also use custom themes, or we can take a theme and extend and basically extend and customize that theme to fit you. So what Crunchy did is they basically selected an initial theme, and then we basically customized that theme from there. So this entire experience is lives on Shopify, uses Shopify's system, and is all edited and managed using Shopify's visual editor. So what happens is to support your replicated sites, we basically first and foremost use a URL parameter. For a lot of our clients, we use like a question mark ALS equals, but we have other clients that use RFE equals, REP equals. It basically needs to be some variation of this URL parameter. What happens then is this URL parameter becomes the replicated site, and obviously Jessica Massey, for example, is that vanity URL unique to Jessica here. We then, as a company, have a series of front-end components that we have built to basically enable replicated sites. So for example, we install this "you are shopping with" header that obviously indicates to the customer that they're shopping with on Jessica's replicated site. We have the ability then to kind of extend and customize these personalizations as you see fit. So if you wanted to add a profile image here or a bio, that's all very much possible and all being pulled from ByDesign. So what happens then? As you're navigating across the site, we're basically continuing to populate that URL parameter. So it's all working very normal to like a normal replicated site you would see inside of with a direct selling company. What happens then is the product pages and all the products are actually configured on Shopify. So by configuring them on Shopify, you're able to use all of Shopify's default functionality. What this means is like, for example, if you wanted to build a very custom PDP page for the I Am Luminous oil, and for example, build out additional information like its product FAQs or what it pairs best with from an upsell perspective, or even add like UGC and social reviews. So Crunchy here uses a UGC social review app where they have not only just the ability to collect reviews, but they're actually collecting like real testimonials and real images and videos of their clients and their reps using these using these products, and then actually posting them as products as a collage on the product page. So they're actually collecting real feedback and testimonials from their client that they're using to populate the product page itself. All this is just customizable using Shopify's system. So ultimately, then, what happens is the cart likewise is fully customizable. So like with Crunchy, for example, they have a full free shipping program. And then we also put, recommended upsells inside the cart. So since I've qualified for the order, I've qualified for free shipping. But if I was below $50, you would see this progress bar. We're also then giving Crunchy the ability to kind of populate their trending this month. You'll see other clients basically put like limited time offer pop-ups in here, a variety of different like pieces. Um, the checkout itself then is Shopify's standard checkout. So all of checkout, all of promotions, all of order processing is running through Shopify. What that means then is you're basically one having access to guest customer checkout, but two is you're getting the normal Shopify checkout that customers are used to. On top of that, depending on the payment method on the gateway you're using, you're having access to all the payment methods that that gateway has available. So, for example, Crunchy uses Shopify payments. They have PayPal, Amazon Pay, Google Pay, Venmo, all set up by default inside of their checkout. Um, awesome. So once this order is processed, then we're basically just sending that order into ByDesign with the line items and the necessary volume on it. So ByDesign can then calculate commissions and show that properly in the rep back office. Cool. I'm gonna jump just to show the other side of this. So customer purchasing isn't the only thing that we actually have built on ByDesign. What the second thing that we have built on Shopify is rep enrollment itself. So what we've done is we've built an entire separate rep enrollment flow that sits on top of the Shopify plugin. So this is naturally integrated with Shopify and basically gives you full flexibility to kind of build different enrollment experiences for your consultant. So I'm going to just pretend like I'm upgrading an account here. I have an advocate enrollment. This is just basically a Crunchy first and foremost requires a required kit here. So if I select that, I then go into shop and we have a variety of optional upsells. What we've done is we've built the ability to have required kits here, to have optional upsells. We've even build auto ship programs for other clients on Shopify. Ultimately, what this is doing is they're basically building an enrollment kit, adding the personal information, and then the final step, what we're doing is this enrollment order is actually being completed on Shopify. And once that order has been completed, we're basically creating that rep in ByDesign. The final piece of this is we have the ability to build the rep purchasing in Shopify too. So what we do is every rep is a customer in Shopify. What we then do is we add basically a rep tag to that customer account, which then allows us to personalize that experience. So I logged in here as a rep on our test account. What you'll see is I basically have a my account page here that is unique to the rep. When they log into Shopify, what they're getting is an SSO into their ByDesign back office, but I'm also then using that tag to further personalize the experience. So for example, I can show rep specific discounts or rep specific pricing to a rep to a customer because they have the rep tag. The same thing as I might show, for example, specific items only to a rep. So we basically are able to use that tag plus Shopify promotions to basically create like personalizations for the rep shopping experience itself. Awesome. So that's the kind of the standard of how the integration works. The goal of all of that is one, to make it obvious as easy as possible for you as a ByDesign client to use Shopify. And most importantly, then, is support a variety of different purchase experiences. Because ultimately, we want to give you the flexibility to say, hey, I want to move my customer purchasing. I want to move my rep purchasing, my rep enrollment all to Shopify. Or you might say, I only want to move my customer purchasing. Or I only want to move a certain portion of my business. What we've done is we built a system that really that kind of meets you where meets your e-commerce where it fits for you. So knowing that, why do we do that? Ultimately, we want to create a better replicated site. And what that means for us is like we want to create a replicated site that really, one, meets the rep how they sell. So no matter what, if a rep sends a customer to that site, we're giving the rep the best chance possible to make sure that customer converts and make sure that that order is going to have the right product on it and as much product as possible. So to do that, how are companies then actually using this? There's a few ways we are seeing companies currently using our Shopify and our solution. The first way is to experiment with new strategies. So we see companies kind of testing the waters with like new digital strategies, whether that's certain landing page funnels or like going omni-channel. The second way is we see companies wanting to better create better replicated sites for each customer. So if a rep sends a customer to a replicated site, that rep can be guaranteed that that customer is going to actually convert. Um, and then the final thing is how these companies are looking to actually also give their reps a better purchasing experience. Because ultimately, yes, the reps are part of the business, but they are still a customer, and they want to basically give as good of a customer experience as possible to those reps. Cool. So how are they doing that? The first thing is experimenting with funnels. Because it's easy for us to integrate and make with Shopify and make sure that data is flowing properly. Once on Shopify, what we found is it opens up in a world of new funnel options. So companies that are kind of wanting to test new digital strategies, we've seen them, for example, generate landing pages on Shopify with basically Shopify checkout. That's a one-click checkout, guest checkout that they know can convert digitally. So we've seen companies playing with landing pages. We've also seen them play with like third-party marketing tools. So, for example, we've done a lot with the company Ace, which actually gives reps the ability to create their own marketing funnels. So what we've done with Ace, for example, is we've actually integrated Shopify, where if a company wants to go, create a marketing video that their reps can share around, that marketing video actually leads straight into Shopify's headless checkout. So it's a one-click checkout from that marketing video for that customer to buy from that rep, and then we're just syncing that right back into ByDesign automatically. So what we do is have the ability for basically companies to kind of play with new funnels, new landing pages, and can guarantee that those landing pages and funnels will actually convert because they're using Shopify checkout, they're using Shopify payments, they're using the Shopify guest checkout, so on. Kind of on that note too is like we've seen a lot of direct selling companies starting to play with the idea of, hey, obviously, like e-com, like our replicate sites are the core way we're driving traffic. However, like modern e-commerce recognizes that your customers exist everywhere. So what we've seen is like companies are starting to play with the option of, hey, what if I start selling on different channels? So what if I want to go sell on YouTube? What if I want to go sell on TikTok? Or if I want to go sell on Instagram? Shopify by default has all those sales channels available in their system. So by easily integrating a ByDesign client to Shopify, what we do is we open up these social channels. So it's very easy for a ByDesign client to go and basically say, you know what, I'm going to try sell. I'm going to try to sell on TikTok, or I'm going to go try and sell on Instagram Shop. Um, so we started to see companies actually experiment with generating that like traffic and conversions themselves. The same thing is on commerce channels. Is like obviously Shopify has Shop app or they have integrations with Amazon. So like we've seen companies starting to play with other commerce channels or even play with some of their own marketing ads and kind of try and go more D2C. So really, this has kind of acted as an experimenting ground for companies to start to play with omni-channel selling themselves. Cool. The core way, though, is obviously all that omni-channel is a nice cherry on top, but it's not the core model for most direct selling companies. What we've seen is most direct selling companies are really asking, how do I use Shopify to build a better e-commerce experience? And for ByDesign clients, what we've seen is that can mean first and foremost is unifying the sites. So not having a separate marketing site and shop, but one single experience, as you saw with like Crunchy. The second thing is how do we create better browsing experiences? So how do we make it easier to browse the shop? How do we make it easier to see or better understand the products, market the products, so on. Um, they've also looked at how do we increase the AOV on every order. So how do we encourage upsells and cross sells on every order? And then how do we improve the conversion experience? So how do we actually get customers converting at a higher rate when they actually are looking to buy? There's a lot of ways to do that. We could probably spend 3 hours going through different Shopify examples. I kind of boil it usually into this one page of, hey, where are a lot of the easy wins with building a better replicated site using Shopify? And that really is at the merchandising level, the upsells and cross sells. How do we actually give the rep better sharing mechanisms? So how do we give them share cards, payment links to send to their customers? How do we actually improve the checkout experience? And then how do we improve the order thank you experience? So how do we actually use even the order thank you page to introduce customer referral or introduce a party program or introduce an upsell into the consultants to becoming a consultant? Um, cool. So, the real bread and butter then of Shopify, and probably its main pitch of for the longest time has been is truly leading in e-commerce conversion. So, if a customer goes to a site and is looking to check out, Shopify is going to guarantee that that customer is you're gonna have the best chance at getting that customer to check out. So how does that actually work with Shopify? Well, the first thing is guest customer. We do not need a customer to set up a username and password to shop with you anymore. Shopify has full guest customer shopping capabilities, and we can guarantee that we can make guest customer work with your order attribution. The second thing is sharing methods. In conjunction with that guest customer, what we like to do is do stuff like a share cart or share link. So be able for your reps to generate their own shared carts or their own even payment links directly into checkout. So kind of giving ways to curate experiences to the customer. And then the next piece is the APMs. So using Shop Pay, Google Pay, Apple Pay. Shopify has 100 plus APMs in total available on the platform, basically allowing giving your customers alternative ways to pay. Can I emphasize on top of that the additional speed that comes with Shopify and also the familiarity? It's ultimately just to check out your customers know. So what we've seen is like there's been good bumps from conversion rates when moving to Shopify. Obviously, I've touched on sharing methods. I always hammer this in for direct selling companies. I think it's probably one of the greatest underutilized assets for direct selling companies, at least from a digital perspective, is user generated content. Um, as a direct selling company, you have a field of thousands of a large field of reps that are looking to support the brand. What you're seeing is a lot of companies in general in e-commerce now are looking to say, how do we better utilize the content created by our customers? So obviously, I showed with Crunchy, like on their product page, they're basically showing on their product page user-generated content from their customers. They're basically showing, hey, we have customers using this moisturizer that have left reviews that are posting online about it. Let's actually put videos from our customers. What we're seeing is really savvy digital direct selling companies are actually encouraging their reps to generate content and using that content on their site. And they're really taking a playbook from companies that are not in direct selling. So if you look at it, and I love this example of this clothing brand. They actually, this is a direct consumer clothing brand that's big on social media. They actively encourage their customers to post with their clothing. And what they do is they actually pull that clothing back into their e-commerce. So they're able to say, hey, we actually have people, real people wearing this product. I think this is what we found to be one of the biggest underutilized assets in direct selling is how do we get the reps and the customers posting more UGC and incorporating that back into the site to make the site and brand feel more alive and more like it has truly the brand and field around it. Awesome. So there's a lot of benefit to using Shopify, but where does Shopify struggle? Because the reality is like Shopify is not perfect. No system is. When considering whether or not to use Shopify here, the first thing is payments. Shopify is a payment company at the end of the day. It will say it's an e-commerce company, but it really makes most of its money from payment processing. With that, it strongly incentivizes you to use Shopify payments. Shopify payments can be tough on direct selling. They will let direct selling companies use Shopify payments, but it requires stringent review, and they might not even allow the rep enrollment to be used. So we found that Shopify payments and direct selling can sometimes not work together, and that becomes kind of a first place where at that point they need to go look and use one of the other gateways that exist on Shopify. The problem with some of those other gateways is they might have higher fees, so it can be a higher cost, or they basically have or like another problem, for example, is with Shopify International. Shopify International is available to companies using other gateways, but the ability to see local currency conversions is only available to Shopify payment clients. So what we found is like when companies are looking at Shopify, the first thing to always ask is basically what is to look at this payments problem. The second piece is Shopify. We've been able to solve a lot of the direct selling rules on Shopify, but ultimately Shopify is not built for direct selling. So what that means is like when we're looking at a company using Shopify, we need to factor is like, can they support their customer type pricing? Can they support the Hostess rewards program that can they have? By default, Shopify is not able to support shopping on behalf, so allowing a consultant to go in and use a customer credit card to place an order. And like, does the company have any other custom promotions that are very unique to their direct selling model that might not be by default available out of the box with Shopify? And how do we solution those in? So what we found is there's usually for more advanced and robust direct selling companies, there's usually some type of solution that needs to be done to make sure their rules can be fit. The last piece is here is loyalty and referral is most of the time, most Shopify clients will go and look at a Yotpo or Smile.io for loyalty and referral. What we found is a really good pattern for most ByDesign clients is actually to integrate the ByDesign credit ledger with Shopify, giving you basically full access to the ByDesign credit ledger, loyalty program, all those different like rewards that are available, and allowing then your customers to use it in Shopify versus using something like a Yotpo or Smile.io. The final piece then that is always in consideration is subscription apps, which I can quickly touch on. Um, I mean, Shopify by default does not have its own subscription app. There's most clients will end up looking at like a third-party app like a Recharge or an Atomic or an Order Groove. So the final piece of that is Shopify is great, especially from an experience standpoint, but it usually requires an assessment of looking at the business rules and making sure it can fit your model. And the final piece of that is all these systems do add up. And what we found is potentially for sometimes with Shopify is the total cost of ownership for e-commerce can increase. Sometimes that's able to be leveled out with, it's giving you so much more tools to manage your shop with that the just the cost saving alone from the tools are enough. However, like for some clients, we do see an increase in TCO. But that is usually counterbalanced with an increase in revenue gain, a better shop, better digital experience. So awesome. And that's kind of a note on subscriptions in general. So I'll stop there. I know we only have a few minutes left just to open up the floor for questions because I've kind of ripped through a lot of information. So I want to give people some time. For-
All right. So if anybody's got any questions, you can feel free to speak up. Just a couple of questions that I know I've gotten when we've had this conversation before. You can absolutely choose to leverage Shopify for some of your markets and alternative carts for others. Same thing, like we said, customer shopping can be in Shopify while rep shopping can be elsewhere. So th anything's possible, right? Don't feel like you have to do all Shopify or all something else. You can certainly pick and choose. I know there's a couple of clients right now that they're looking at Shopify maybe for the US or North America markets, but in
Yeah.
the EU or in Asia, they're going to keep the other ones. So I
Yeah.
know we get that question a lot. So I wanted to make sure everybody was aware that you can certainly pick and choose where you want to use it.
Which is also, yeah, not an uncommon rollout strategy. If you're in a lot of markets, you rarely want to roll out 20 markets at once. It's not uncommon to be like, hey, we're going to roll out North America first. We're going to roll out the EU first just to test the waters. Yeah, you're exactly right, Cassie. Awesome. Cool.
All right. Well, it doesn't look like we have any other questions for now. So, with that, we will go ahead and wrap up. I want to thank Connor so much for joining us and for sharing the information. If you do have questions after the call, or if you're watching this replay, reach out to either Connor or myself. Reach out to ByDesign support. We can get you in touch with the right people to answer the questions that you have. So I just want to thank everybody for their time today. And I will be sending out the recording soon. And everybody, have a great week.
Awesome. Thank you all.
Thanks, guys. Bye bye.